So lately I caught myself asking this question. Why does God do what he does the way he does it? Why does he call you knowing fully well that you have limitations, knowing fully well that you have weaknesses? And he often would call you to a purpose in line with those things that you have identified as weaknesses in your life. Why does he do it? I came to understand that it's because God's ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. He doesn't see things the way that we humans do, because with every human, God sees the heart and sees the person behind what we all see. If you think about the Bible stories of the people, the men and the women that God used for his glory, all of them had a weakness. All of them had a limitation. They had a challenge. God used them in spite of it. In fact, he used those weaknesses that they had for his glory. Now, what are those weaknesses in your life and in my life that we think is standing in the way of God using us? For me, it often has been the fact that I know that I'm a very shy person. I tend to be timid sometimes when I find myself in an environment that I'm not comfortable in. And speaking in public or speaking to people is something that I've always struggled with. So I often would just mind my business until God started putting me in positions and in places where it required me to open up and speak. And then I started unraveling a struggle that I've had for so many years. But the truth is, when God places me in those positions and in those situations, he uses my weakness, my inability, my timidity, my shyness. He uses it for his glory, which means in spite of what I feel and how I feel, he still goes ahead and does what he wants to do. So what is your own story? What is that thing that stands as a limitation? What is that weakness? What is that challenge that you think makes you unqualified to be used by God? I'm here to let you know that is exactly what he wants to use. That is what he wants to use. Oftentimes we think that God will often call us in line with what we are strong at, what we feel confident at. Most times he doesn't. The scriptures reminds us that he often uses the weak things of the world to confound the wise. So check. Those things you struggle at, those things you struggle with are the very things that God wants to use for his glory. If you even think about men and women in the scriptures that God used for his divine purpose, they all had a weakness, they all had a limitation, they all had a challenge that God turned around for his glory. You're not an exception. In fact, you are in the new dispensation, which means God wants to even use you the more to confound the wise. So let him use that weakness. Let him use that limitation, all for his glory. You'll be shocked what God will bring out of you. Till I come your way next time. God bless you.